Cool.
Well, Dave, thank you for coming on the show and thank you for coming and talking about serving because I think this is an important thing that I want to start our year off. So thank you for your time to come on and chat about this.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Where do you find yourself?
So I am at Hunter Bible Church. We're in Newcastle. We've got a couple of campuses, and I've ended up with this weird title of executive pastor, which kind of means I want to maximize what they're doing. I'm trying to work out everywhere I can so that people can hit the ground running with the ministry they're trying to do and the way they're serving, and so that under God we can be as effective as we can as a church, as our various locations, all our teams. I would love everyone just they have everything they need before they need it, and they can do their ministry really well. That's what I'm trying to facilitate across our church.
Kind of like the operations pastor.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we call ourselves the ops team, and we've got with the ops teams we've got like the everything communication and finances and the admin and the venues and building up teams of people to help with that, so that the way people love church might be out the front, the way people love church might be in various teams that put events on, and the way people love church might be behind the scenes facilitating all those things. I kind of see myself as like the an army has a mess hall that feeds them, and it needs a supply chain for getting the petrol to the front lines or whatever. That's what we're doing. We're coordinating the supply chain so that the war effort can keep going.
Love that. That would be my dream job. I love that sort of stuff.
We should chat after this. Yeah.
I love how do we make this work? Let's get in there, the strategy and the getting it happening. That's so fulfilling. Anyway, total side note. Your book, this one that I read is the Team Members. So it's directed at everyday people, lay people, to, can I just say, I just said lay people. I actually hate using that term. I don't know why. It just feels really patronizing. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Anyway.
Imagine Jesus going, my church of lay people. It's just not what it is it? Yeah.
Yeah. And I hate that term because I am one of them. And I'm like, ugh, don't call me that. It's for everyday people like you and I.
Yeah. Brothers and sisters in Christ.
That's right. The saints. How do we equip the saints to be the best team member they could be on a team serving in some capacity within the church or in any Christian ministry? Now, is there another book as well that's for leaders?
Yeah.
That accompanies?
So the first book that came out was the Team Leaders Handbook. So that's designed for the person in church who has stepped up, or their ministers asked them, hey, would you lead this team? And they're kind of going, oh, okay, whatever that means. This is the book to give to that person and say, this is what leading a team of volunteers looks like. Because it's not like a team leader in a secular paid job, because you're working with volunteers and how that has to happen. So that's the first book, Team Leaders Handbook. And then this is, you're talking about the Team Members Handbook. So it's much shorter, and it's designed for the team member, the person in church who is starting to serve and want to help them think about what it means to serve church as a team member. What does it mean to join a team and to serve, not just to rock up on a roster and I'm on for morning tea. We want people to take more responsibility than just turning up with food, or we want people to take more responsibility than just turning up to set the chairs out or to make some event happen. We want them to feel responsibility for the team that they're part of, not only the things they do, but also the team members, but also how to relate to their team leader, how to care about it, what they're doing it, why they're doing it, that type of thing. And so that's what the book's it's the foundational stuff that you'd want every member in a team to have thought through, from why we serve at all as Christians all the way through to, here are some tips and tricks about how you're going to relate to your team leader and what that's going to look like. Yeah.
And I think I shared off air, I read parts of it and I was like, oh yeah, I should probably do that. I need to be better at that. There's a lot, I'm telling you, if you're someone that's in church and that is serving on a team, it's a very helpful book, because I read it and went, oh, I'm that person. Oh, I'm that person. I need to work on keeping my mouth shut. I don't need to always voice my opinions. I don't need to always voice my ideas. I felt like I probably do need to message to my leaders and be like, you guys are so gracious. Thank you for putting up with me.
That's right. And there'll be other people who will read the other part of that bit and go, oh, I should really share my thoughts. I should actually talk more in my team.
Yeah.
Because some people don't, and they have these great, I remember, I can't remember what the team was, but I was talking with this team, and after the meeting, I was walking out to the car and one of the people had this idea was like, oh, maybe we could do this. I'm like, hang on a second. Why didn't you say that 20 minutes ago? We've got to call everyone back. We're going to do that now. But, I didn't think anyone would think it. No, that's fantastic. Like, so some people need to say their idea. Yeah. Some people, I'm like you. I need to rein in what I'm saying.
In my experience, through Bible study, through being on different teams, the people that often keep their mouth shut, I'd say they're the wiser ones often because they've learned, not always, but like they've often learned, I'm just going to hold back. I'm just going to assess. They just come out with these gems. And I'm always like, you need to speak more. You need to speak more. Just speak more. So I speak less and you speak more because what you say is really good. And they often just give that confidence boost to be like, yeah, your voice actually, I want to hear it. Like we want to hear your opinion. Yes. Anyway, that's just a good encouragement.
Well, it's helpful. Like this is in all relationships in some senses, that even with my wife and I, recognizing being an internalizer or an externalizer. So an internalizer processes their thoughts before they speak them, and an externalizer, I need to say things in order to think them. They have to come out of my mouth for the thought to happen. I'm assuming that might be you.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's very safe. Yes.
That's right. And so when you get a married couple and one's an internalizer or one's an externalizer, the externalizer gets frustrated going, I don't know what you're thinking. I don't know what you're thinking. And the internalizer is frustrated going, but I can't tell you what I'm thinking until I've done my processing and working out how to get those bits. That's right. And you go, that's really helpful.
Yeah, that's my husband and I constantly am like, what do you think? What do you think? And he's like, you've just told me. I need to just give me some space to think about what you just told me. I'm like, it's not hard. Why do you need time to think about it? I just told you.
Yeah. Tell me every single word that's coming out of your heart right now. And they're like, no, I couldn't do it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And I think this is where our we have to keep submitting our personalities to Jesus. So,
yes.
I've got this, this is a rant from me at the moment, that I'm keep hearing people saying things like, I can't serve like that because I'm an extrovert or I'm an introvert or this type of thing. I'm like, no, you're a Christian and we make sacrifices. And so that means sometimes I need to love people by not speaking. And sometimes I love people by speaking. Jesus doesn't say, come to me and do what you feel like. He says, come to me and I'm going to change you. I'm going to ask you to do things you don't feel like doing. I'm going to transform you. And so that means I love personality tests. Like our family we love personality tests. Our kids have kind of designed their own personality tests that they use on other people. It's hilarious. It's scary, but hilarious. And but at the same time, personality tests are just meant to pick up where I am now, not who I am. They're meant to describe what I am now and help me understand that other people are different, and I might need to give up what I'm like for the sake of others.
I'm really glad you brought that up because as you were talking about that, I was thinking personality tests. It's very helpful the way you just described it because I actually hate personality tests because I've heard so many people be like, oh, it's because I'm a 5 or I'm just an inventor. Oh, I'm blah, 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 Myers-Briggs, whatever it may be. And so I've always struggled with it. And then when I tell people I struggle, they're like, oh, you are such a number 8. No, I don't know but I'm like, that's exactly why I hate it because we box each other in and it's like according to it. But I think it's really helpful reframing of what you just said. That's displaying who you are now, not who Christ is going to make you become.
That's right. It's not my identity. My personality is not my identity. In the same way that we want to talk to people who have different desires and that type of thing. We want to say, hey, submit your desires to Christ. In the same way, submit your personality to Jesus. You are not your personality. You are Jesus's, and you might have these tendencies. Okay, well, are they good tendencies? Are they unhelpful? Are they helpful? How can you use them and sacrifice them for Jesus, for other people? Yeah.
That's really helpful reframing. I'm going to turn that into a short because that's good. Thank you. Anyway, the insider of the editing. Anyway, so let's talk about serving at church because there's a lot of people that listen to this podcast. They're invested in church and they're serving wholeheartedly. They're going hard. I have also a lot of people that listen to this that haven't, and this podcast that haven't been in church for a while, that are struggling with church hurt. So I've got quite a spectrum. So let's start with, there are a few people that have served previously in churches, and maybe they're attending a church now, or maybe they're not, but they are no longer serving because they've been hurt. How do we biblically speak into that for those people?
Yeah. So I think it's really helpful to start with the understanding that as Paul wrote to the churches, he expected and knew that there was hurt. And so we want to, I think, so people in that circumstance, they already know this. So maybe this is the thing for people who haven't experienced that yet. You will be hurt in your church and by your church, and you will probably hurt other people in your church. That is, until we're brought to glory and perfected like Jesus, we will hurt other people and other people will hurt us, even in church. And part of the reason that it hurts so much is because we can get into church and we're with this family of believers and there's all this love and we know how we should relate. In fact, one of the things, we're really good at knowing how other people should relate to us. We're very good at that. Other people should treat me like this. We're not as good at recognizing how we should treat other people. But that aside, when that doesn't happen, when I'm not treated in a way that is loving and kind and careful, and people haven't understood what's going on in my world, and people take advantage of me and ask me to do things that's beyond my capacity or beyond it, beyond what I'm in a circumstance able to do, that is really hurtful. Partly because we have such a high expectation of the church. This church is meant to be this family. And so I think that's our first thing. We've got to take to this idea that, no, this is by God's grace, in God's providence, this pain has come about, and this is not the end of church. This is the real life church until Jesus returns. So look forward to glory, look forward to being with Jesus, and understand that what Paul encourages us to do here is to forgive. And there's an element of grieving there. I think one of the things that we want to a helpful thing that we've talked about in certain circumstances is there's a difference between forgiveness and love and trust. That you can choose to forgive someone and say, look, I forgive you and I'm going to love you. That doesn't mean I'm going to trust you yet. And I think that's what a lot of people are in the middle of working out. And I think those categories are really helpful to be able to go, okay, trust is something that I can extend to someone. You can extend trust to someone. You can withhold trust from someone, but you can't withhold love from someone. Love, we're called to love, but we need to be wise with trust. And so I think that's part of what's happening in people's inner turmoil. I think there's another aspect here. I'm going to say hard things. I think forgiveness is something that we need to keep thinking about. Forgiveness hurts twice. Forgiveness hurts when someone sins against you. That's the first part of the hurt. And then forgiving them, that hurts again. Because you've got to go, oh, I can't, I'm not going to respond to this with vengeance and anger and revenge. I'm going to wear the cost of it. So if you imagine if someone breaks my window, they've broken the window, and then forgiveness is me paying for it. So there's two hurts. There's the broken window and then the paying for it. And so when we forgive someone, we're feeling it twice in a sense. And sometimes it's a continual thing. There are significant pains and hurts that we feel where every time we think of it, we have to go through that little kind of a mantra again, going, okay, God, I'm forgiving this person. Help me not feel angry. So there's an aspect I want to say to people, have you actually forgiven and are you continuing to forgive? And what does trust look like now? So separate trust from forgiveness. Forgive entirely. That's what we're called to do. And then what does trust look like? How can you, it might be fair that you say, oh, look, I'm just in a situation where I'm struggling to trust myself into a role again. I'm struggling to trust you to lead me into that role. I'm struggling to trust that you're going to treat me appropriately. That's okay. You can say, look, you don't need to tell them this, but you can say to yourself and to God, I'm nervous about trusting myself to them. I love them and I forgive them, but I'm just going to be wary about trust. And you can then go to other people that you might be serving with, or someone asks you to serve, and you can say, hey, I've been burnt before. I've forgiven those people, but it's going to take me a little bit of time to trust you with this. So I think trust is a often unspoken category that's actually really helpful in this whole environment, that we are entrusting ourselves to people and going, oh, can I work with this person? Not because I'd like them or not. That's not the issue. In fact, aim to like people, aim to love people. But can I trust myself? Because trust is harder. That's one. Well, I'm interested to know what you think, actually.
Well, no, I think what you were saying with the trust and then communicating that is really powerful as well. Like, how many people don't communicate? They might go, I'm willing to dip my feet back in and serve again, but they don't communicate with the leader or potentially someone they can trust on the team to be like, I'm actually really working through this pain. So I'm going to need your prayer support. I'm going to need someone to talk to when we don't communicate this stuff often. Probably rightly so, because we don't want to also gossip. It's a fine line, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
But it is really helpful to communicate that to people, to be able to bridge the trust again. Absolutely.
Yeah. And
That's
I think
good.
when we do want people to serve, if you're someone who's been hurt before and someone asks you to serve, I think it's worth asking, am I unfairly withholding trust from this person because of what someone else has done? Now, that might be a fair thing for you to do in your circumstance, that's fine. But it might be unfair as well. That is, if someone is trustworthy, you can extend trust to them and say, hey, look, I've been burnt in the past. I do see the value of serving, and I do want to serve as a brother and sister in Christ because I love Jesus. And so I'm open to doing this. Can you help me as I work through this? I want to trust you more. What would be really helpful is doing this, this, this. Is that something you could help me with?
That's really helpful. And so what is the purpose of serving? Like, I think if we're talking about it in light of someone that's been hurt by it, like, it might be helpful to think about what's the foundation there? Like, why should we serve? Should we all have to serve?
Well, this is where the definition of serving is helpful, because when we talk about serving, often in a church context or a ministry context, we're talking about a formal role. We're talking about a way, hey, can you come and do this thing and be part of this team and that type of thing. And I think that's a secondary idea of serving. The primary idea of serving is, I'd essentially say, is being other person centered. I have a stutter, so feel free to say the word that I want to say. That's how. But if you talk to other people with a stutter, they hate it, but I love it. That's fine.
Okay.
So, but being other person centered, that's a Christian virtue. That, like Jesus. So Jesus, we want to be like him. And what did he do? He came and he served everybody. He put himself last and put everyone else first. To pay for our sins, to buy us to himself and his Father. And so our Lord is someone who is other person centered. That's what the cross is. It's a picture of being other person centered. And Jesus calls us to follow him and to pick up our cross and be like him and be other person centered as well. And so that's essentially what we want to do. And so even if you're not serving in a formal way on a team, I still want to say, as a Christian, serve. That is, be other person centered. And that's as simple as, if you're a 10-year-old boy, when mum and dad say to help with the washing up or whatever, say, hey, I want to do this not because I'm asked to, although it is good. They're asking me and they are giving me a way that I can serve. They're channeling my right desire to serve in a particular way. If you're married, serve your wife, your husband, serve them, because being other person centered is what Christians do as we follow Jesus. And so I think that's the heart. We want to be like Jesus. Jesus who serves others, we want to be doing that. And so if you want to call it, you could call that informal service, even though it's the most important type. It's that desire to look around and go, who is my neighbor? How can I love them? And then when you're part of a church family, just like when you're part of a normal family, in fact, when you're part of a church family, you want to actually coordinate service. You want to say, hey, we can actually love people better by coordinating some of the things that we're serving together. And so serving formally is a way of loving more people in a church family and beyond.
Mm. And so let's talk about the serving in the family, because I think that's it's helpful because it translates across, because we are a family in Christ, but serving as a team isn't just church. It's maybe other ministries outside of whatever, but it also translates to home life. And now I know not everyone listening is married and has kids, but for those that are in that situation, how have you seen the lessons that you've learned transpire into how you raise your kids, how that dynamic plays out in the house?
Yeah. So I think we want to see our kids, we want to shape the way they love and serve their friends and each other in the family as a way. This is what we do because we love each other. And as Christians, this is what we want to encourage. And so we do things like we didn't tie pocket money to serving and that type of thing. Serving is what you do as a member of the family. It's a privilege as being a family member that you get to do these things, just like pocket money is a privilege. They're both they're both part of being part of the family. And so we want to help them with that. And we want to keep saying to them, it's more than just the job. So if you come out to do the dishwasher and the dishwasher is part done already, then it's not just, that means less I have to do. You go, this is an opportunity that I can do a little bit more this week, that type of thing. So it's a little bit like that. There was something else I was going to say about serving as kids. No, the other thing about this is understanding that our kids have always been part of the family team. And so me and Julie and the kids, we're a team and we're talking about the things that the family needs to do. So when we're going on holiday or when we're organizing something, hey, we all have jobs to do to make the family work. And so we want to share responsibility for this. It also means that the discussions we have, a lot of the things about the way a good team has discussions actually apply really well to families. And so things like we have, if you read the book, there's 4 types of discussions that happen in a team. There's discussions where the team leader just tells you what's happening. So that's type 1. And then type 2 is when the team leader is going to make a decision, but they ask for ideas. They get people to brainstorm. That's type 2. Type 3 is when the team leader wants you to make a decision and talks about it with you to help you make a right decision. Then type 4 is when the team leader says, it's your decision, just tell me how it goes. Just you keep me in the loop. And so we do that with our kids. When we started working about it with at church teams, I'm like, well, this works to families. This is great. And so we have this great story that my oldest daughter, when she was about 16, 17, she was like, oh, Dad, I want to go to a concert with my friends. And so we should, this is what I want to do. And I said, okay, which type of conversation it is? Because of course my kids are nerds. And so they know what type of conversations they are. And so she's like, I was thinking this would be a type 3, that it's my decision that you give input to. And I said, no, this is going to be a type 2 conversation. And she's nodded her head going, yeah, that's what I thought it would. So we talked about it and talked about why she wanted to do it. She knew it'd be my decision in the end. But we talked about it and we kind of worked out she probably could do it, but in the end, it was enough for exams, that type of thing. And anyway, so she didn't end up heading along to it. And then a few months later, she comes to me again, comes to me and Julie and goes, there's another concert I'm keen to go to. We should probably have a conversation about that. And I said, cool. So I'm assuming we're going to have a type 2 conversation again. She goes, I'm going to be 18 by then. It's going to be a type 3 conversation. And I'm like,
yep, how the turns have tabled.
That's right. I'm quite happy with that. This is good. I love the fact that you are owning responsibility. And so we sat down, we talked about we had almost exactly the same conversation with the knowledge that at the end of this one, it's going to be her decision, not ours. And it framed it really well. The first conversation actually framed it really well so that she knew what type of things we cared about and we knew what she cared about. And so coming back to the larger idea here is that thinking of the family as a team and going, not just how can I get my kids to do a certain thing or get my spouse to do a certain thing, is how can I what type of conversations are we going to have such that we understand who's doing what in this role? Working out what conversation we're having is probably the most important parenting tip I think we've learned over the years. Even now, so our youngest daughter is 17, I'm still thinking, okay, I'm not telling her. I don't want to tell her to do things. I want to present her things and I want her to decide to do it as much as possible. And if I absolutely have to, then I will tell her. But it changes the conversation. I'm not talking to a 12-year-old. I'm not talking to a 9-year-old anymore, where you need to be really directive. That's the type of conversation you have. Yeah.
That's
Just
right.
how that changes over time.
Yes, so much to look forward to. Autonomy is like so powerful as well as they're growing up, right? That they feel like they're being given that a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's amazing to see. And you can see how those different conversations, even for us as adults on a team in church, it changes the whole way you interact. You could,
That's right.
yeah. Mm.
Yeah. And we love that autonomy, like both in church and at home. I love it when my team members take on more responsibility when I want to create teams at church where the team members feel 99% responsible, where they can make 99% of the decisions. That's actually what I want. And so I want to encourage and direct that autonomy with a clear outcome, with a clear purpose, with a clear prayer behind it, so that the decisions they make are exactly the decisions I'd want them to make, or decisions that are even better than that, And same type of thing at home. I love the autonomy of our kids. I just want to direct it in a certain way and encourage it because I want them to be adults that make great decisions. So I want to start training them in making good decisions when they're younger so that they do.
Yeah, that's really good. So okay, we're talking about serving. Let's take it back to church. We're thinking here, I'm on team and, you can have different leaders that lead differently. Everyone's different. This is their unique character in which way God has created people. They have different giftings and talents. They see things different. How much does giftings play into this, though?
Oh, yeah. I mean, as a team member, you mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, well, we want to give thanks for the way God has gifted us all. And it does seem in places like in places like 1 Corinthians 12 and Ephesians 4, that God has gifted his church, his household of believers, with the gifts that they need. And sometimes that can be really surprising. You can look around and go, really, is this the gifts we need at the moment? However, the primary gift that he's given us in terms of serving, I think, is a heart to serve. And the skills, I don't think a lot of the gifts that the New Testament talks about are particularly skills. I think they're largely heart things. Now, there will be things that are particular in certain ways that they have the gift of leadership or administration, that type of thing. But so much of it is about a willingness. So in 1 Corinthians 12, it talks about that the do what is good for the building up of the body. It's whatever the body needs. You are gifted. And in Ephesians 4, the gift of the church is the apostles, prophets, pastors, and teachers. It's people who are gifts rather than the skill that they have. And so I think I want to reframe people's sense of gift and go, you, by the power of the Spirit, are the gift to the church. And yes, you might bring particular skills and tendencies, that type of thing, but at its heart, you're the gift. It's you as a person, and I love that, because in a world that wants to value people based on what they bring, the church says something so different. The church says you are valuable because you are a brother and sister in Christ. It's not about the thing you bring. So, and I think we need to hear this. I think in our churches, we can adopt the air we breathe, the culture we breathe, and think of people being more valuable in church because they have particular gifts or particular skills and that type of thing. And I go, no. Those people are the gift. We value them because they're members of Christ. That's why we value. And whether they have a skill and they can do something or not, great. Jesus gave them that skill and Jesus can take it away. That's not the reason we love them. That's not why they're valuable, which is, I think, one of the lovely things. The caveat to all of this is even if you can't serve, you are still a cherished, valued member of church because your membership in Christ is not based on the thing you bring to him. It's so helpful that we go, you don't have to feel like a waste of space because you can't serve in some massive way. No, you are not a waste of space because you are valued in Christ. Christ gives you value and he might give you a way to serve, but you're not valued by the way you serve. So I think the first thing I want to say is be less concerned about your gifts and look around at your group and give thanks for them. Look at your church, give thanks for it, and look, it goes, how can I be of service to these people rather than how can I use my gifts? Yeah. I don't know if that answers your question.
No, that's really good because as you were saying that, I'm like, yeah, I didn't even think about those people that are really ill, maybe disabled, whatever situation they're in. Maybe they're going through a bout of depression or grief or whatever it is. Just them being there is a gift for us in the church, right? Their presence, God uses them in ways that we don't realize. And we do get stuck on the gifting stuff. Because, I mean, I'm thinking now of someone that might be like, well, they've asked me to serve on this team, but that is just not my gifting. Like maybe they've asked you to serve on kids' church and you're like, I am so bad with kids. Like there is just no way I could possibly serve on that. How do you, like, what do you have to say to that?
I'd say I'd love to introduce you to a bloke at our church named Rob, he was a university student. He was the youngest in a family of 3 or something. And he came to uni and he had no experience at all with kids at all. And we said, hey, this is what church needs. Church needs help with the kids program. And he's gone, all right, I'll give it a crack. He served it for 3 years and they were a hard 3 years. He did a faithful job, let's say.
Stuck it out.
Yeah. And you know what? The kids loved him. They had fun. And when it got to the end of 3 years and we went, hey, Rob, do you want to maybe think of doing something else? He's like, yes, I would love to do something else. But kids grew, families were loved into church. And years later, those kids are older and they're like, I remember you taught us in Sunday school. And like, yeah, this is where we got to think less of ourselves and more about others. Yeah. So this is where whatever the need is, option for that first. And I think, yeah, there might be some people at church who come along and go, oh, I'm really excited. I've got this time and I've got these gifts in a particular way. Absolutely. Ask if there's a way, but also be really open to your leadership team, your church pastors saying, hey, thanks. That's actually not a need that we have at the moment, but we do need people. We do need someone to do this. And so that's an expression of love. That is real humility to go, oh yeah, sure. So an example of this is when Paul was going from Jerusalem to Damascus to arrest and to murder the Christians, and Jesus appears before him, right? So Paul has this road to Damascus experience where he meets Jesus, right? That's not when he became a Christian. Jesus tells him to go to Ananias. And then Jesus goes to Ananias and says, Ananias, you need to go to Paul and tell him the gospel. And Ananias goes, why me? Like, send someone else. Like, do you know who he is? As if
Nope.
Now, at that point, is it because Jesus couldn't tell the gospel? Like, wouldn't Jesus be the best evangelist literally in the world? But Jesus uses his church. He uses us to do things that he could do enormously fine. In fact, Jesus
true.
could right now come and run all our churches and do every ministry and do all the kids' ministry and the admin and the finance stuff much better than any of us could do, let
Perfectly.
alone the preaching. Yeah. And yet he doesn't. He chooses to, by his Spirit, use us. And so I think we just have to go, oh, wow. Isn't it amazing that Jesus uses us to do these ministries? How awesome. Yeah.
It's so true. And also the stretching, like if we always do the same thing, you never learn. You never stretch yourself out of your capacity. Like there's so much beauty that comes out of being challenged and stretched. There's been plenty of ministries I've served on there. I'm like, I really don't want to do this, but yep, let's do it. Let's do it. We're going to do it. And sure enough, that's where I've made really great friends.
Absolutely.
Or, like there's been beauty in that. There's a lot in that actually.
Yeah. You never seem to pray as much as when you're in a ministry that you're really not sure is going to work.
Yeah.
And isn't Jesus glorified in prayer? So
Yep.
maybe Jesus actually does that for a reason. Like,
absolutely. Yeah, he's doing the good work and he's not going to stop until he returns. So that's part of it. I have to ask, in light of all that, what are some of the I'm now thinking of people that have been in church for a while, that have been serving for quite some time. Maybe they need to move on. Maybe they need to move teams. Maybe they don't. I don't know. But what would be some of the like self-reflective questions, or I don't know how to word this very well, but like I'm trying to think, what are some of the things that you would say for us to self-reflect as to whether we're serving with the right heart, serving in the right team? Maybe our attitude is kind of off. So what would be some of like the red flags that you'd be like, hey, if you're thinking like this or if you're acting like this, that could be a bit of a cause for concern. What?
yeah. That's a really good question. It's funny. I feel like my job changes so much that's a feeling I struggle to resonate with. So I'm like, oh, wow, the same thing like next year, that'd be great. But no, that's not my experience of church. I think this is one of the things I'd hope things are changing, because as church grows, things should change. As church changes, the ministries we run and how we run them should change. And so, yeah, but that attitude that starts with, Jesus, would you use me? Would you be so kind to use me? So the way we often pray it, I've found myself praying, is, Jesus, would you give me the joy of seeing this outcome? Could I have that, please? Like, you don't have to, but seeing this person become a Christian, would you give me the joy of leading them to you? Or would you give me the joy of seeing this growth group that I'm leading be more mature in 12 months' time? I would love that joy. Can I have that joy, please? So the thing I'm praying for is not only that it would go well, and not only that I would be serving well, but I'm praying for the joy I would have at the end of it. I'm looking forward to that and asking Jesus, would he give me that? I think that's a helpful way to do it. I think also praying for the wisdom to think about whether you're doing something because you feel safe or doing something because you think it's shrewd. So I love risk. I love taking risks and trying new things. And I understand that lots of people are the opposite end of the spectrum. And so I think one of the things I want to encourage people to do is when you said yes to this, it was probably new and you were probably scared and you probably thought it was a massive risk. But now you've been doing it for 3 years. That sense of risk is gone and you might feel really safe. And so it doesn't mean you need to change the ministry. It might mean you need to change the way you're approaching it, the way you're doing it, the outcome you want, the outcome you're praying for, I should say. That is, if you're running the ministry in the same way it's always been run, there's a part of me that goes, oh, what can you do differently? How can you expand this? And you might go, oh, I don't know if that's going to work. Yeah, but that's right. Let's try that. So I think I'd first want to say, how can you stay and pray that it changes that you can change it. But also there is a point of going, hey, is there something, I've learnt this much stuff. Could I be doing something else? Is there another way I could serve? As I look around, because as you start serving in church and you see how things kind of work, you might notice this is what I find is notice things. Oh, I wonder if that aspect of church could actually be improved a little bit. And I've actually got a passion for that. Maybe I could go to them and ask if that's a thing that I could help with, without a sense of entitlement, I suppose. That again, I want to be wary of that sense of this is what I want to do. This is kind of aligns with the idea of calling. That I think we have so individualized a sense of calling that I feel this is what I should do. When actually, most of the New Testament calling is something that people do to you. You are called by people. The church calls you to do this, and so, I'm wary of the sense of I feel really drawn to this. Oh, that might be a thing, absolutely, but I want to encourage you to get other people to go. Yeah, that'd be great. Let's do that. Or no, we don't actually need that at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't help but think as well, like if someone's been in a ministry for a long time and looking around going, "Oh, how could we change? We've been doing it the same for a while." Maybe the change is who could take my position?
Mm,
Like who's someone that needs a bit of encouragement and that has the capacity to do it or needs to be stretched a little that I could take under my wing and
yeah.
get them to take it on and be part of the team.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is where the Team Leaders Handbook is helpful to go. Just because you're serving in a ministry, why don't you lead the ministry, not serve in it? Why don't you step
Mm.
up? Because you know how to do it. Great. Why don't you train other people to do it so you can think wider about what the ministry's what's happening? We had this example just recently where we had someone who was a team leader role and he had to change for some other circumstances. And one of the team members said, "Oh, do you mind if I led the team? Because I've been watching you do it and I was thinking, oh, maybe that's something I could do." But if that guy didn't move, if the first guy didn't move out, that guy would have never said anything. And so
Yeah.
what it showed us was, oh, we should have been asking him earlier. And so there is this opportunity to go, can you move up rather than keep doing the same thing and bring other people in and encourage other people to serve? So here's a thought. If you're not getting out of the way, then you are taking up someone else's role. Someone
Mm.
might be really willing to serve, and because you're not moving up, they can't move in. And
Yeah.
so, uh, don't just do what's safe. Don't believe that no one wants this. There might be people who do.
Mm. And I think that's I mean, I think back of all the churches I've been in and, there's a lot of people that just get stuck. They
Yeah.
kinda get stuck in the same thing because it's what they've been doing for the last 5, 10, 15 years. It's what they do. That's their ministry, and
Yeah.
everyone knows that that's their ministry, that's their team, that's their thing they do, and it's really hard when you're new in a church as well to go, "I wanna serve, and I can see we could maybe yeah, I've got some ideas," but you can't touch those teams,
So,
touch those ministries.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
like, there's that as well that we have to navigate. Do you have any, experience or advice on that? If someone's in the way in?
We are, oh, yeah, we move people. We actually move people quite a lot in their roles.
Okay.
Yeah, it's,
Which prevents
I
that,
think
yeah.
we are very aware of people getting stuck in their thing. Like even growth groups, we're kind of reluctant having growth groups that go on for a few years because people identify themselves with I belong to that group. Well, no, you belong to church, and this is an expression of that. But yeah. So it is a temptation. I think that people can get. We are we're very good at attaching ourselves uh, to our habits when those things are
Mm,
not us. Yeah,
mm.
yeah. So I think I'd want to encourage that regular change. And sometimes I think a lot of it is just feel safe. This is what I'm used to. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. People like to feel safe. So, what would be the 5 main things that you would say are necessary or it doesn't have to be 5, I should clarify. What would be like the, handful of main things that make a good team member? Because I'm
Ooh,
thinking if I'm listening to this and I'm like, what are the things that I need to be aware of that would make me a loving, Christ-centered team member in my team?
Yeah, I think the first thing would be read the book. Yeah, no, that's well, that's
Well
kind of
done. That was good. Yeah.
get the plug in there. No, look, I think a key part of what is a good team member is someone who loves Jesus. So just be Christian. That's really the first thing. So, in fact, I think it's there's every point to pause and go, am I doing this for Jesus? And I think that's the place to start. And so being Christian is going to affect the way we do whatever job it is, whatever team we're part of. It's also going to affect the way we relate to our team members and the way we forgive them when they sin against us. And when we sin against them, we're going to say sorry, and the way we treat our team leader and that sort of thing. So I think to be Christian is key. I think the other one is be faithful in that, turn up. if I could get one thing to happen at our church for every team member, if they would just turn up when we've asked them to, that would be great. And this is where you get some team members where they are just so faithful. We've had a couple in our growth group for the last few years, and they are just like 99% of weeks, they're just there. And at the end of 2 years, we had a time of praying for the team. And I was actually in tears thinking, I'm so thankful for these people just turning up. It's just been so lovely. And amongst all the other thing that's going on, I know that they're going to be there. And it's such an encouragement. Oh, they're great. So being a team member is turning up. And even if you don't feel sure, or you're not aware, or you're feeling like it hasn't been communicated well, or turning up and finding something to do helps your team leader so much, and probably helps them work out what to do. Part of the reasons that teams don't get a good kind of structure is because the people who are there each week changes all the time, and so it's really hard to get momentum happening when changing. So that'd be the next thing. Yeah, try to turn up, and then the key ideas would be understanding when something is when something's your responsibility and something someone else's responsibility. So some of the common mistakes and hurts that happen in teams is when so if I'm the team leader and I'm telling you, Cass, hey, can you I think we should do this. I think we should do this study. And what you hear me say is, Cass, can you go and do that thing? But that's not what I thought I was asking. And so you go away and you do all this work. You do a couple of weeks' work preparing this study. And then you come back to me and I say, oh, yeah, I decided we're going to do this other thing. And you go, how dare you? I did all this work and this type of thing. And the problem there was not understanding what type of conversation was happening. Was the brainstorming conversation that I'm going to choose, or did I really clearly ask you to do that? We're not clear on that stuff. And so being a good team member is just generously and gently seeking clarity. Hey, is this something you want me to do? I'm happy to. Do you want me to do that, or do you want me to wait? Because sometimes team members will want it, but they don't want to press go yet. And so I think, understanding when something's been given to you to take responsibility for, and understanding when it hasn't and you're waiting on something else. That's a really helpful, that stops relational breakdown in teams. Yeah.
That's really good. Yeah, communication is such key, it has to be the number one reason why so many things break down in life, right? Communication.
Yep.
Lack thereof. Yep. It's a serious thing. So that's helpful. Be Christian, as in follow Jesus. Be consistent and turn up. So reliability.
Yeah.
Yep. And then communication. So good. It's almost like the world just borrows biblical principles all the time.
That's right. It's almost like God understands us and the world that we're in. It's,
like he's all wise or something. I don't know. I know. It's crazy. It's crazy how science keeps on confirming what scripture's been saying for so long. Crazy when I hopped on, I had to do LinkedIn for work and paid work on the side. And I just, it like really destroys my soul, LinkedIn, because all these motivational speeches and everything. And I'm like, you're just borrowing biblical principles. Stop it. Just
Yeah.
read the Bible.
Yeah. When I was doing the research for team leader stuff, there's one guy who's a secular team leadership guy. And he has this line where he says, we've got to stop using the term servant leadership, because in the last 20 years, in the secular leadership world, it's all been about servant leadership. And this guy
Yeah, like
says,
Leaders Eat Last was huge, right? That
yeah,
book.
that type
Yeah.
of thing. Yeah. And it's all this new thing, like, this is amazing. And as Christians, we're like, yeah. And this guy goes, we've got to stop using the term servant leadership because there's no other kind. It suggests that there's some other kind of leadership. And he goes, and honestly, this is what Jesus has been saying for years anyway. So it's just this lovely acknowledgement going, yeah, we're basically following something else. Yeah.
And that's why you have to believe in general revelation, because
That's
everyone is like, seriously, everyone is doing life according to this morals that all comes from the heart of the law that's written there. Everyone's going to be held to account. Anyway, sorry, that's total side note. It's so evident as you unravel and look at society. You're like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
It's right there in front of you.
Yeah, there's this general kindness from God that in his providence, and he lets the rain on the wicked and the evil, the wicked and the righteous. And so when we see our world doing good things, it shouldn't surprise us. We should thank God and say, God, you're so kind to bring them in on loving, good, kind things. Please lead it to Jesus. Please point in that direction. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is a much nicer way of what I was just saying. Thank you. I appreciate it. Can we pause on this total topic? Because we'll wrap that up. But I would love to talk to you about the stutter.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
You said, I have a stutter. I haven't heard it much, but you said you have a stutter and you like talking about it. So I would love to hear that journey for you, because I'm sure that people listening that know someone or personally have a speech impediment.
Yeah.
Talk us through.
Sure. Yeah. So, yes, my stutter is not as bad as it used to be when I was in primary school. High school was pretty bad. Before I went into ministry, one of the big questions I had was, can I do ministry with a stutter? I had a couple of people tell me, no, you shouldn't do ministry as a job because ministry is largely communicating. And if it interrupts you communicating, then yeah.
Yeah, but Moses.
And God still told him to go.
Yeah, sorry. That's why I was feeling that face. It's like, okay, not the story of Moses.
Yeah. So for me, I grew up, so my dad also has a stutter. It seems to be largely a genetic thing, mainly with males, although I think 95% males. And so,
really?
Yeah. So very few females have a stutter. I always stutter on the word stutter. Stutter on my name, my wife's name, and on the word stutter. And any word starting with G, so God, the gospel, that type of thing. So,
nailed it then.
That's right. And so this is where my mum was great with this. So I was always brought up with this sense that, Dave, if someone has a problem with your stutter, by definition, that's their problem, not yours. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. And so when other kids had issues with my stutter, I was like, wow, must be something wrong with you that you've got a problem with my stutter. Like, that was just the way I understood the world, that they have a problem, not me. And so having a stutter, as I started to get speech therapy and that type of thing, I worked out that when I'm stuttering, if I hear the word that I'm stuttering on, I can say it. It just my brain kind of clicks into gear and I can say it. So when I was learning to do Bible talks at youth group, my technique with the kids was I was really nervous about stuttering in the talk. So I would say to the kids, okay, if you know the word I'm trying to say, you can say it. And so the first time I did this, these kids were sitting on the edge of their seats, waiting for the opportunity to jump in. And so they admit they listened to the talk really well. And it worked a couple of times. They jumped in
That's
with
amazing.
words and it was great. And so I still do it. So even in my sermons today, even though I don't stutter as much, if I think I'm going to, I'll kind of pause and say, I've got to stutter. And if you know, and don't worry, I'm not getting slayed in the spirit, if that's what we wrote, although if I actually am having a stroke, please do something about that. But jump in and say it. A couple of years ago, we did have one of the girls at church, one of the uni student girls, that she would just call out random words. So nothing to do with what I'd be saying. And this is why she'd go, unicorn. Everyone would stop and no, Mel, that is not the word I'm trying to say.
That is so good. What great
Yeah.
band. That is amazing.
Yeah. And so I think it got to the point where, well, I think from a Christian point of thing, so I didn't grow up in a Christian household. We didn't go to church, that type of thing. But wrestling with this as a Christian was really hard because I remember reading the Bible, being 11, 12, 13, being really convinced that this is Jesus. He can heal the blind. He can raise the dead. That for God to take away my stutter would be so easy, so easy. And I think this is the same wrestle that everyone who struggles with sickness and hardship and everything. It's the same thing. So it's not more than that by any means. But just being so convinced that God could do this and being so questioning about why wouldn't you, God? Why wouldn't you do this thing? And coming to the point, I think I would have been 13 or 14. I'm not even sure I understood the gospel yet, but I understood that God is good and God is powerful. And that must mean that God must think this is good in his eyes in a way that I can't tell. And trusting in God's goodness is where I need to start rather than what I think is best. And I remember praying with tears, going, okay, God, I'm just going to trust that you're good. And if you could please take this away, please do. And I look back at that and I'm so thankful. This is so hard to say. Oh, I want to say I'm glad God didn't take away my stutter then. I want to say that. But I'm still convincing myself of that because I know it's true. But in God's providence, in what he did, he brought me a whole bunch of other things that helped me work out what he's like. And I trust him so much more in the midst of that. Yeah, that's my thing. What are the questions that you think anyone would want to ask someone with a stutter?
So you said when people stutter, sorry, I need to hit pause for a second. What you were just saying was beautiful, like that you want to believe that you wanted God to take it away, but like the way that enduring through that created such trust. Like that's beautiful. That's such a good reminder for so many people that are in the midst of suffering right now. That there's a discipline in suffering of having to trust Jesus faithfully, like in the midst of it all. You know, it's the eyes on Jesus. I think of, is it Peter when he jumps out of the boat and he's like running on the water, takes his eyes off Jesus, starts sinking, and eyes back on him. Jesus is like, look at me. It's like just such a beautiful reminder of the heaviness that is in that. It's not easy, but like the beauty of the journey of trust in that. It's really, thank you for sharing. That was really lovely.
And it's so just to go back to that, it's that what Satan wants to do in our suffering, what Satan wants to do is lie to us and tell us that God is not good. That's been Satan's lie from the very beginning, and it will be until he's destroyed. Satan's lie is telling us that God is not good, and Satan will use absolutely everything he can to do that, especially our suffering. And so I think that's the thing as I walk with people through suffering as a pastor now, one of the things I keep wanting to point them to is I know this hurts now, but hold on to God's goodness, his love, his kindness. And it feels like, though you might feel like this isn't love, this isn't good, this isn't kind, trust that he is. That is Christian faith, trusting that God is good even when you're not sure he is. That's what we want to encourage people to do. It's really easy to trust God is good when everything's great. When things are hard, trusting God, that's what brings him glory.
Yeah. Amen. And this is where the prosperity gospel is so damaging, because it's, all these believers are missing these beautiful opportunities to know God on a whole deeper level and to see how he works. And yeah, that whole prosperity gospel is stripping people of so much joy in the midst of suffering.
It reverses it. It says that you can see God is good when he does stuff, rather than, no, you can know God is good because of what he has done.
Yeah.
And so it puts God in a situation where he has to prove that he is good. You've got to prove that you believe it enough and all this type of stuff. I agree. It's so damaging.
Yeah. So back to your question, what would I want to ask with stuttering? I think the thing for me is, because you said, oh, I like it when people say the word that I'm trying to say, but I feel like that probably wouldn't be the case for everyone, right?
Every other person with a stutter I've met has said, please don't do that.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And I think for lots of people with a stutter, particularly if it's really bad, so you might have met some people who will stutter or have what's called having a blockage every few words. And for a lot of them, it's this sense of their sense of themselves, there's a sense of identity in trying to get their words out. And if it happens all the time, it actually feels like someone's taking away your identity.
I get that.
And so there's a sense of empowerment, or there's a sense of disempowerment when you're taking away words from people, which is why any of us, we don't really like people interrupting us. And it's not something we enjoy because I want to say that type thing. So there's a little bit of that. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, what's actually happening? Like, so what's the science behind it? Is it that, can you explain that?
I'm going to probably make some speech therapists very angry, but,
Okay.
but I did hear this from speech therapists. It's from what I understand, and maybe this is more of a metaphor than the science, but it's kind of like there's a mini epileptic fit that happens while you're talking in all the signals that are being sent to your lips, your tongue, your mouth, your throat, your larynx, your lungs. All the signals that need to get sent to coordinate an action to make a sound, g or p, that all takes a whole lot of coordination. And to do that, at one point, it's like your brain is going, da-da-da, like imagine marionette strings, puppet strings, at one point just grabbing all of them and shaking them. That's kind of what it feels like. You just get stuck. And so I remember as a kid, when it was really bad, people were saying, just breathe. I'm like, I'm not breathing in or out. I'm suffocating. I cannot get air in and out of my lungs because everything is frozen, and you can't just stop. So stopping is what you're trying to do, but it's like something is controlling all those muscles.
So
And
physically, it would inhibit your breathing as well.
Yeah. So I've had strong blockages. So if I have a strong blockage, my face will contort, and I can't breathe. Like everything, the muscles making your lungs move just freeze, and so you're just going. And it's like a Zoom chat where it just drops out. That's what it feels like, just in real life.
But your brain knows, so you know what you want to say though.
Yeah.
The rest of it is not responding.
Yeah, that's right. And so what a lot of people with a stutter do is they use word avoidance, that they know what word's coming up and they get a sense of, I'm going to stutter on that word. And so they'll quickly change the sentence. This is what I do. I quickly change the sentence to use some other word. And so constantly as I'm talking, I don't know any other way of doing this because of how my brain's worked out over years, is that I've got multiple sentences that could flow from this point, and I'm just choosing the one that's going to have the least likely blockages, as well as using other techniques that I'm trying to control my breathing before I get to that point in the sentence so that I can move in with it's called a slow onset. So there's all this stuff going on, which means when I'm doing something like preaching, I'm so exhausted at the end of it because I'm trying to control all this stuff at once. So yeah, it's just interesting, I suppose. That's just what it
No,
is.
that's really, really fascinating, which is hilarious because you mentioned in our previous conversation that you're an externalizer. But I mean, I don't know. I think you're kind of an internalizer as well. You're doing a bit of both.
I've just got to have all the options open all the
That's
time
right.
yeah.
Um, so how did you like? Do you think it's just God working in you that you've seen improvement, or is it like you've actually had tools that have worked really well to help you improve?
Yeah, I think that having done, it was interesting. So I used to work in IT, and so I was in the .com era, and so I didn't have to do much talking, and if it was with other nerds, and so it was very short conversations. So I didn't have to do heaps of talking. And then I got married around that time, and then I did MTS. And when I did ministry apprenticeship, I had to do lots of talking. So pretty much straight away, I found my fluency increased because I was just doing so much talking all the time, and I became more confident in doing that talking. And then I went to Bible college, and again, there was still lots of talking, and then coming back to ministry. And so the more talking that I've had to do, the more skill I think I've got in doing it. That's very humanly said in a very human way. God has been extremely kind in allowing me to. I still get days where, in fact, this is probably a 5 out of 10 in terms of how things are. Normally, my speech isn't as bad as this. So that was a stutter just then, that I'm going, I don't know where to go from this sentence. I'm stuck. I've got to try and get to that point. Yeah. So yes, I'm very thankful to God that the impact of it isn't that much. And yet at the same time, what my peers, what my fellow staff and the people who are close to me have said is, Dave, in God's providence, you've got a very strong personality, and your stutter softens you in a good way. So by the grace of God, I would hope that what God has done is gone, going to give Dave some of these stats. I'm going to drop some of these stats and use them. Yeah, maybe it's that. Yeah. I still look forward to the day when Jesus returns and I will not have a stutter, and I will cry tears of joy because I have been longing for that for years.
Yeah, that's good. There's always that eternal hope, right?
Yeah.
And so how do you encourage us to support people with speech impediments?
That's a great question. Ask them what's helpful. And I'd say that, so some really exciting things is I was actually part of a study when I was like 12 called the Lidcombe program. If anyone's a speech therapist, it's like this internationally famous study that happened, and I was one of the participants in. But basically it proved that you can't, once someone is basically past 6 or 7 years old, that stutter is likely to remain for the most of their life until some people drop their stutter during puberty. So 16, 17, something rewires in their brain and they don't have it anymore. But what they basically worked out is if you have a child and they display signs of stuttering or blockages before they turn 6, there is a program you can use, and that will, generally speaking, not cure, but it will remove that from them. So 3 of our kids displayed signs of having a stutter, and we got them treatment before they were 6, and they don't display that anymore, which is lovely. And which is funny because when I was a kid, the medical advice was wait until after they're 6 and then treat it.
Thanks, guys.
That's right. Which is funny. My mum at the time, she was like, "That's the stupidest thing ever. Why would you do that?" So she couldn't find a speech therapist who would treat someone who was under 6. I was like 3 or 4, and so she found this Indian speech therapist. This is in Penrith, and so after maybe 6 months of me going to this Indian speech therapist, I developed an Indian accent because he was just getting me to repeat words. So I was a little 5-year-old kid with this slight Indian accent. And Mum's
so
going,
good.
Mum's
And
going, oh.
You'll be like, this is even more confusing now.
That's right. Yeah. So yes, so the way you can encourage them, encourage kids under 6, that'd be really good. After 6, also don't stop doing it. But that's there. But I think if you meet people who are older, because of that now, a lot of people who are basically 20, 25 and older will have stuttered. People younger than that. Hopefully, I would love to see the day in 50, 60 years. Very few people have a stutter because of the threat they get when they're younger. But I think we want to show patience to them. That's the thing that they would like. And I would ask them and say, hey, I don't mind that you have a stutter. Is there anything I can be doing to help?
Yeah, that's really good. Again, communication, hey, just asking the questions. Yeah, so good. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's great. Hope that helps many people. That was really good. And thank you for coming on to the show and talking about how to be a good team member. It's really helpful. Where can people find more of your stuff? I mean, you've got the 2 books, but if they wanted to hear any of your teaching or anything.
That's a good question. I suppose you could find sermons from Hunter Bible Church that are there. I do have a blog called Ministry Principles and Pragmatics that has a whole bunch of, I've tried to do really short ideas that take a principle of ministry and how that works out in ministry. And actually Greg's the senior pastor on Hunter Bible Church. We've started a little podcast thinking about how to do aimed for people in ministry, how to think about church ministry and stuff. But yeah, that's around as well.
What's that called?
That is called Threading the Hood.
Threading the Hood.
Threading the Hood. Yeah.
Care to explain?
Nope.
Because you've lost me on that one. Anyway. There you go. I'm not in ministry, so there you go. It's an intern. If people, I'm hoping to get there are more books that we're hoping to write as well. So okay.
So we're hoping to do some more books for team members and I've got some other ideas.
That's so good. All right. Well, I'll link all those things as well in the episode notes. So if anyone's listening, you can get it easily accessed there. But thank you, Dave, for coming on and talking about this. Much appreciated.
Thanks so much. It's been great.
Yeah. Make sure you share this with your friends and family and probably your church. It's probably a good way. You can share this episode with your church to get people on board. But if it's been helpful, and leave a review. Otherwise, I'll speak to you all next week.